Good morning to everybody. Happy Monday. It's Daryl here. It's 4 a.m. bright and early here in Connecticut on the East Coast. All right, today I'd like to talk about what I consider some bad decisions, bad choices. One concerns the Plano, Texas police. One concerns the Florida governor, and one concerns the Texas governor. And before I even start those, I just want to mention that right around now was when the very first death in the U.S. occurred from COVID-19. Now, I say right around now because it's kind of controversial. They're starting to look back that it was earlier than they first thought. I think it was first listed, the first death was initially listed as March 6th, and then it was February 17th, and now they're looking back to early February. But we could generally say that the first death occurred right around now. The very first death in Washington State. If you look at the cover of the New York Times, I think it was yesterday's New York Times, they had a mind-blowing visual. One dot showing the first death in Washington 1 year ago. Then 500,000 spots, dots. Now, over 500,000 deaths 1 year later. 500,000 Americans dead. It's not up for debate that the United States handled this worse than any other country in the world. Our numbers are worse. The evidence certainly points that way. That being said, I want to move on to, let me start with the Texas governor. Okay, Ted Cruz. Man, if there was any way to make this worse, Ted did it. This one picture, okay, I'm sure you all know the picture by now, of Ted Cruz now back from Mexico, holding a case of bottled water and putting it into the back of a SUV. Now, the first thing I looked at is to see who posted this. You know, was it Ted Cruz or was it somebody that just happened to, a citizen observing Ted Cruz doing a good deed? Because that carries more weight for me. Now, it was from Ted Cruz. So that right there, that's a minus. Then I looked at if there was anything written, any text. Yeah, there was text. Ted wrote, "Texas strong." Then I kind of looked at the picture itself. An empty parking lot. It was one SUV in an empty parking lot. It was Ted Cruz holding one case of bottled water, one car, an empty parking lot. And Ted having somebody take his picture, writing "Texas strong." Do I even need to comment on that? Really? If there was any way to make this worse, to make himself look any worse as a politician, personally, I don't know how Republicans feel about this, but it's pathetic, man. It really is. You know, and then after hearing AOC raised $4 million, a Democrat from New York State raised $4 million for Texas, and Ted's out there back from his shortened Mexico vacation where he tried to get away from his constituents, hauling one case of water, taking his own picture, moving one case of water into the back of an SUV. Texas strong. Oh, man. I'm just going to leave that right there. Okay, now on to Rob DeSantis. All right. After I made yesterday's video, I go on my walk. I always told you guys I go on a 5-6 mile hike. It's about an hour and a half long, about 90 minutes long. And then in that whole hike, I kept thinking about, I kind of missed an opportunity. When I started that video, it just flowed out, and I didn't give it much thought at first. And I thought about it on my whole walk after I made the video. I thought about Rob DeSantis wanting to put the flags at half staff for Rush Limbaugh, a man who clearly was very pro-Caucasian, let's just call him. Let's call him very pro-Caucasian, which in itself, there's nothing wrong with being pro-anything. But when you do it at the cost of other people, then there's a problem. But anyway, I not to get too far into it, but I just thought about the optics, the visual of DeSantis asking about the flag being lowered to half staff, kind of asking the flag to take a knee for an American citizen, asking the flag to take a bow for this American citizen. And then I thought about Colin Kaepernick, and I didn't find any, I didn't even go looking for any quotes from Rob DeSantis about Colin Kaepernick, but I'm pretty sure I know where somebody like Rob DeSantis stands on taking a knee in Rob DeSantis and Colin Kaepernick. I'm pretty sure I can guess where he'd stand on this. And taking a knee to me is just, it's you're still paying respect to the flag. A black man trying to raise awareness about the treatment of African Americans by police. Simply trying to use his spotlight, his fame, to point out the issues at hand. And him being labeled everything from an SOB to a traitor to, over here, you have the black guy trying to do something with his fame to benefit the community he came from. And over here, you have pretty much the same thing, but in a whole different way. Rush Limbaugh, very pro-Caucasian, but not in the same way as... I'll leave that for you guys to consider. That whole thing. The flag at half staff for this very pro-Caucasian Rush Limbaugh. And Colin Kaepernick being labeled an SOB and a traitor and everything for taking a knee in front of the flag. It's interesting. Now, that being said, let's go to Plano, Texas. All right? The reason I pick these stories is because I feel strongly. I can relate. You guys know that I use empathy. When I came across this story, I saw myself right off the bat. I can remember specifically, I'm from a very snowy area. We walk in the street. I do a lot of walking. I've always done a lot of walking. I walked back and forth to my first job as a dishwasher, a newspaper delivery person. My next job was at a factory, and I walked back and forth. I remember wearing white Converse in 10 to 20 degree below zero weather. Okay? And my feet freezing. I remember wearing a Levi jean jacket when it was below zero. And I don't know why teen boys do this. I can't even relate to, right now, I can't answer why I did it back then, but I can relate to that. I did it. We want to look good. We put our status above safety and comfort. We do that. Okay? So here is Rodney Reese, an 18-year-old worker at Walmart, walking just a few miles home, not even a few miles from Walmart. It's dark out. It's probably 7, 8, 9 p.m. I don't know. In the dark, in the snow, wearing a t-shirt in Plano, Texas. Now, I don't know what the exact temperature was. Now, yeah, it's not the best thing. It's not the smartest thing to do. Now, let's talk about walking in the road. I know about this. You can't walk on the sidewalks. At this point, initially when a snowstorm first happens, for those of you that aren't familiar with this, the plows first go down the street and they push the snow up onto the sidewalks. Later, the next day, the sidewalks are cleared. So there is no choice but to walk in the road. That is a fact. You can't walk on the sidewalk without killing yourself, falling every 10 feet. The sidewalks are dangerous until the next day. Unless you're coming home from work, you have to walk somewhere. You're going to walk in the road. It is safer. At that point, there's very, very, if any, actual automobile traffic. So it's safer to walk in the road. Almost nobody is driving. If anybody's driving, they're driving very slow. And you can take a step onto the snowbank. You let the car pass and you walk back. You go back to walking down the road again. That's how you do it. That's how we've always done it. Okay, so the Plano police are called out for Rodney Reese. It's a welfare check because somebody saw, and by the way, he's African American, and walking down the street, and he was stumbling. Well, he was walking on icy, snowy roads. And being a teen boy, his pants were riding rather low down his legs. I noticed that. Again, putting style above comfort and safety. But, so the police pull up. Now, there's 2.5 minutes where the police follow Rodney and then arrest him and put him in jail. Okay? I'll have the links down below to all of this so you guys can watch it all for yourselves. As I watch the police interact with Rodney, it's obvious that Rodney is very frightened of police. In the interview the next day, he starts tearing up and crying along with his parents because he's seen the pictures of George Floyd and all this other stuff. You could hear the fear in his voice. You could tell that he's sane. You could tell that he's all there. He's walking home. He just wants to be left alone. He's fine. Leave me alone. Let me walk. Police won't let him walk. They follow him mile, and harass him. They just keeps getting more. To me, they're harassing him. I could tell he's scared. I could start feeling his fear. The empathetic thing I have. I could feel this kid's fear. Just leave the kid alone. Go back in your police car. Here's an idea. Well, if you just care about the kid's safety, why don't you just get in the car, ride about a couple hundred feet back behind him with your lights on, or not even with your lights on, and just make sure people see him and follow him home. It's only a mile or two. It'll take you 5 minutes if you just care about his safety. Or here's another idea. Offer him a blanket. Are you telling me a cop car in Plano, Texas doesn't carry around an extra jacket or a spare blanket to keep somebody warm at car accidents or anything like that? They don't have a spare blanket in their cop car? Just offer the kid the blanket and let him keep walking. He just wants to be left alone. He worked hard. God knows what he dealt with at Walmart all day. He's walking home in the snow in a t-shirt. It probably was a different weather pattern when he went to work. He just wants to get home. He ends up in jail for walking in the road. I can relate to this kid. This isn't about race. To him, it's about race. If it was even me, I would have been frustrated with these police. Just leave me alone. I'm sane. My faculties are all with me. You're just harassing this person at this point. And in Texas, when they talk about freedom, everybody has their freedom to do what they want, right? Do or say what they want, own guns, all that. But this kid can't just walk home from Walmart 2 miles down the road to his house in snow. He can't be allowed to do that for his own safety. Ridiculous. If you cared about the kid's safety, all you had to do was just ride 100 feet behind him in your police car and make sure he's safe and got home safely. If that's what it was about. The links are down below. I'll be back later with another video.